Today on CityCast Denver. 6 months ago, local restaurants were on edge with talk of tipping fatigue. Now we've seen reports of tip creep, and somehow Casa Bonita is in the middle of it all. So me and Bree and a great new guest are talking tipping fatigue and all the other local stories that mattered this week. Today is Friday, June 30th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are kindly invited to have their cage match.
Why do you have to bring them up? Those are like two of the most disliked people in the universe, in my universe anyway.
I mean, isn't that why it's fun? Isn't that why you want to imagine what that would be like?
Two white guys fighting. You could go to Lodo and see that anytime.
Well,
no, I'm good, Paul.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Do you? So Bree, of course, is here, and then we have. I mean, we're here. It's Friday. We're at the 5280 Magazine Studios downtown. Beautiful, lovely morning.
Right off
rainy.
the 16th Street Mall, which is a giant hole right now because they're digging it up.
Anything else you see out there you want to report that people should know?
No, you know, the usual traffic sucks, trying to find a parking spot. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a beautiful day, Paul. You rode your bicycle here.
I know. I'm feeling extra chipper.
I'm feeling a little envious of you because when I walked outside, I was like, oh, it's perfect. It's a nice day. So I'm happy you did that.
Yeah. There are still puddles on the Cherry Creek Trail for other bikers who...
beware.
Yeah, just beware. So we got a great topic today, but we got to introduce our guest. Excellent guest today. He's a multimedia broadcaster, journalist, multi-hyphen professional, the host of the excellent podcast, The Connect. Graffiti is here.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Graffiti.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Graffiti, do you have, not to dredge this up again, but do you have where do you stand on the Musk versus Zuck fight, and should it be in Denver?
It shouldn't be in Denver. It definitely should not be in Denver. But yeah, let them fight it out, man. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think Musk wins that one, but you know.
You think?
Yeah, he'll have like a machine fist or something like that. But
oh man, I didn't think about.
I'm always surprised when rich guys are not super buff because like you have the money to just like have someone train. You know what I mean? I've had a personal trainer. It's expensive. Buff. He is?
Zuck is like extremely buff.
He actually
is. Does jujitsu and like he does.
Okay.
Also,
aren't we Denver's the first MMA fight?
That's what I'm saying. It should be here.
You're right.
Yeah, I feel like
for historical sake, maybe it should.
Yeah, there might be an audience for that.
For historical sake, yes. Yeah. This is important.
Yeah.
So before we get to our story, business, on our Tuesday show this past week, we answered a bunch of listener questions and responded to your feedback, and it was the best.
You know what, Paul? I just want to follow up on that. So we had a really nice listener reach out about the articulated wall, the statue, or the sculpture off of Broadway and I-25 that some people call the French fry stack. I drove around there yesterday to get some photos.
Oh, nice.
It is literally hiding in a sea of parking lots behind what looks like an abandoned strip mall.
Huh.
The Denver Design District should be demolished. I think they really need to. I think they just need to start fresh.
I think that was my impression.
There was nothing going on there except a security guy following me around while I was taking photographs. So it's like a central location in the middle of the city that I realized I never went into. And now I know why, because it's not really.
It's a wholesaler.
It's a wholesaler, which is cool, I guess. But like, it would be awesome if it could be, especially that sculpture in particular. I'd love to be able to, go check it out.
100%.
So, thanks to our listener. Again, that was a Tuesday show. If you didn't listen, you can hear more about the story behind the articulated wall, that sculpture, if you go back to our Tuesday show. But we had such a fun time hearing from our listeners and readers.
Yeah, and we want to do that more. I'm sure we're going to make some people mad when we talk about tipping in a minute. So call in and respond. We want to hear what you think about this. So call in, leave us voicemail, send us a text. The number is 720-500-5418. Again, that's 720-500-5418. Shall we get into this controversial topic, tipping?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's like a problem maybe. And now Casa Bonita did this thing that got everybody upset this week where they were reopening with tipping, but then it turned out no one was tipping. So they did a service fee now with 15%. And so What, Bree, you're shaking your head. What's important here?
Well, it's interesting because this changed in the last couple of weeks. Because like 2 weeks ago, I went to Casa Bonita and I was able to tip.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. Absolutely. I don't know who's not tipping. What a weird thing to not tip. But I understand. And also in my mind, I'm thinking I paid ahead of time. This is what they talked about in the story was people were a little confused because you sort of pre-buy your meal. But then at the table, you can get additional drinks if you want alcoholic beverages. You can get additional desserts. And so we did that. And then I factored in my meal price towards my tip. So I made sure I tipped on that whole price. But
interesting.
I also realize I'm like a person that loves to tip. So
you are. I think if I was a server and you walked into a restaurant where I was working, I would be like over the moon, excited.
Thank you. I love tipping.
I know that about you so well. Graffiti, where do you stand on tipping, just generally?
I do agree that it's super weird if you don't tip. But on the flip side of it, I do think it's kind of up to the restaurant or the establishment to pay a livable wage so that you don't have to rely on tips purely. You know, I know people that work in the food service industry and they make a lot of money off tips, but they don't make a lot of money in general. So it's like, well, you know, I'm kind of for factoring it in. And then there's the buttheads that don't tip.
Right. And so this is eliminating that.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're gonna make your tip regardless. So I do like that side of it. But just, you know, I couldn't imagine just sitting down and not, even if it's included, it just feels weird.
Exactly.
To not tip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I have not been to the new Casa Bonita. I'm starting to feel left out. If anyone wants to invite me, Bree is gone, Peyton's gone. I have not been. So I don't know what it feels like, but I think there's different situations where it feels really natural to do it. And there's other times where I question. And sometimes it changes, like with new technology, these like coffee shops used to have a jar on the desk. Now they have the little iPad that they spin around and it's like a prompt. Yeah. Now it's a nudge to tip. Whereas before the little jar wasn't really a nudge and I never did it, but now I sometimes do.
Yeah.
I've never put $1 in a jar.
Oh my God, Paul.
What?
You never put $1 in a jar?
Never.
I just tipped on my Starbucks app today. Mm-hmm. Graffiti, I know you were also a patron of Starbucks. Mm-hmm. And I accidentally hit 50 cents. And I was like, who tips 50 cents? So I like went back into the app and was like, $1. Like, I'm not tipping 50. What is it? 1980? I'm not tipping 50 cents. Yeah. Well, Paul, are
you scandalized?
The world's sake, I'm glad you've been forced to feel like you should tip.
So I guess the other interesting part to me was that what they did at Casa Bonita is they went from these salaries that they signed people on to really, really recently. And then they switched to non-tipped $30 an hour. So, and it was like double the amount of money. And I think it's interesting because I've heard from other places that have done this service fees, like Frank Bonanno, like Danny Meyer. He says that the servers do end up with more money. And everyone does. And it's more equitable with the back of house as well. So I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I understand why some servers don't want to go to a non-tipped system and they prefer the flexibility, but
right.
I don't know. I never had that experience though, too.
So they do make more money.
That's what I've heard, depending on the system, because there's different ways to do it.
I mean, okay, so the struggle for me is the bait and switch here is like Casa Bonita hired folks under one premise, and then they, according to this anonymous source through Axios, said, we got this paper saying, okay, you're not getting tipped anymore. You're making $30 an hour, which I agree is a great wage. But if you don't take that option, you don't have a job. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I was like, it should have been clear from the beginning, which is part of our wage transparency stuff here in Colorado, is if you apply for a job, it has to list your wage.
That's true.
And so you signed up for one thing and then you got another thing. That's where I struggle. Because
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, good point.
Well, and also like, I agree, like the tipping system is not good because it's really based on all these weird factors, arbitrary factors, how you feel that day. Mm-hmm. Are you a person that tips or not? Like things that shouldn't factor into someone's ability to pay their own bills. But at the same time, I know folks that are bartenders and have been bartenders for 20, 25 years because they make consistently pretty good money and they have a schedule they like, or that, you know, they have these other things that don't come with the security of the same consistent amount of pay every time. So I understand why folks are servers, but I also think that people should get paid a living wage. I think what would have been a nice compromise here is if Casa Bonita had, well, one, made that decision before they hired people, but
100%.
Two, if you're going to institute it, at least give folks an option, because 15% service charge is not enough to me because I would be tipping 20 to 30%. So at least if you give me an option to tip if I want, I don't like that. Now I'm just going to be the guy that carries cash more.
Option. I feel like you always 100% always have the option. Any person on the street, situation, you could tip them. They would smile and say, "Hey, thanks."
But I'm saying with the credit card system, because for instance, Starbucks for a long time, if you did use a credit card, you couldn't tip. And I hated that. So I think about our old friend of the show, Joanne Allen, says she always carries like $20 in ones.
Right.
In her, usually to give to unhoused folks. But maybe I'm just going to start doing that so I can tip when I don't have the option.
Totally.
I don't know.
I'm curious now, though. So as far as the wait staff, you would be incentivized to do a better job if you know that you might get a bigger tip. So how does that affect service?
Kind of, because but think about, did you ever wait tables or anything?
No.
Okay. I just want to say, like, sometimes you do your best.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, these people loved me. I was there and then they like tipped you nothing. And you're like, what did I do? So like, it's really so arbitrary.
Yeah.
I just the biggest thing here is just the bait and switch. You didn't get the option to make that choice. And again, people are servers for a lot of reasons. Sometimes because you can make more money than the average hourly wage. Sometimes.
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true.
So I don't know.
I don't know either.
The option should be there.
Yeah, I think. You should be able to tip if you want. Yeah. You don't have to.
You know what that article did not say that I'm curious about is whether or not any Casa Bonita employees didn't take the deal. Like if any of them were like, because I heard that's what happened to Danny Meyer, who was this big champion of like getting rid of tipping. He's the guy who founded Shake Shack. And he said at the beginning of the pandemic, he just had a revolt and like people were like, we're going to leave, we want tipping back. So he brought tipping back and it was his servers that basically demanded it.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know. I want people to be able to make a living wage and not have to work 5 jobs and all of these things that often servers do, honestly. Again, it just comes down to the communication of the employer with the employee. And it just seems how it went down just seemed a little sucky to me.
Ouch. Casa Bonita takes its first hit.
I know. I was really bummed because honestly, when this story came out, I was like, I thought they were doing so good. I loved it. When I went, everyone I interacted with was so nice and like stoked to be there and cool and like it was awesome. It just like felt good. And I was like, and then again, I'm a person who's like, okay, I'm going to tip you a lot because I'm loving what I'm having this nice experience too. But I wonder if this changes that feeling for them at all, the employees.
How was the food?
Great question.
Because I haven't made it yet, and
I know,
that's my biggest concern.
Cannot even be.
Are you a Casa Bonita person, Graffiti?
Absolutely, and I was so excited. And I'm a South Park person, so like all of it just made me so happy.
Oh, you'll love that then, because they didn't do like a South Park overhaul, but there is like a commemoration of Cartman's experience.
Got it.
That you'll like.
Oh. Okay, yeah, but I was just like, man. Food poisoning is kind of part of the experience at Casa Bonita. So.
And you know what? At the end, when you're leaving Casa Bonita and there's the treasure room, next to it used to be a gift shop that was obviously long abandoned. Even before that, it was kind of just empty. They turned it into a little museum. And there's a letter printed out from a family from 1999 that's like paragraph by paragraph how everyone got sick.
Wow.
But they put it in the museum as sort of like, we acknowledge that this was a huge problem.
It's really a thing, yeah.
I would say the food is much improved.
All right.
It is not Velveeta on a plate at all. There is no Velveeta in that building anymore. I personally, the thing I loved honestly the most was the new desserts. I had flan and it was amazing. So I'm a sweet tooth person. Personally, so
watch out, Sopapilla.
I still also had Sopapilla.
Yeah, you gotta have a Sopapilla.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
all right, so one more thing on tipping before we move on. There's this survey that KDVR reported on, and so this is like more. Let's depersonalize and let's put on like our analytical, like learn something about Denver glasses here. KDVR reported on this survey from the payment platform Toast that said Denver ranks number 2 overall in the country for highest tippers. Denverites tip on average 19.8%.
Well, that makes me feel good about my
Does it?
City. Yeah. It's not just me.
There's this other part of this article because it was like really weirdly written. They said that they stated as a fact that the traditional tip is 15%, and they used the phrase tip creep. So I think the people at KDVR kind of think that this 19.8 is too high. So what do you think? I mean, That's number 2 also, and it's not 20. I don't know.
I mean, I don't tip under 20%. 20% is my baseline tip for whatever kind of service. If it's not good, whatever. If you're working, it's 20%.
Right.
If you're awesome, it's 25 to 30%. So much to my husband's chagrin. It's like, you tip too much. I'm like, it's my money. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, Graffiti, any reaction to that data?
Yeah, I don't know. We have really nice servers for the most part. I think that's what it is.
That's a good
for
point.
the most part,
yeah.
Especially if you travel a lot and like, especially like if you're down south or back east, it's like everybody's rude.
Yes.
So it's like you kind of want to give people more money when they're just friendly. And I think we just have friendly staff.
I think my brother-in-law lives in New York City, and he got a drink. He told us he got I don't know what bar. He was at some bar and he got a drink, and this bartender was like, "That's all you're going to tip me?" And he was like,
Oh boy.
I don't think you're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
So I could see what you're saying, Graffiti. People are nicer here.
How about the tip creep narrative? Because like 6 months ago, we were talking about tipping fatigue from the pandemic, and now there's
So this
tip
is
creep.
saying that tips
Creeping
are creeping up?
They're creeping up higher and higher.
That's
Well,
weird.
maybe people are feeling more financially secure. I have no idea. I don't know where that comes from. That's weird.
Tip creep.
I have not observed
I'm a
it in
tip
my own
creeper.
behavior.
Yeah, I haven't observed that one either.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that's a perfectly good place to end it. Good luck, Casa Bonita.
I thought you were going to ask me all the places I tip.
Oh, you want to do the lightning round? We can do the lightning round.
I was just going to list off all the weird places I tip.
Yeah, no, we'll give it a shot. So this is a tipping lightning round. I just have a bunch of professions, people you interact with on your day-to-day, maybe somewhat occasionally. Graffiti, Bree, just, hit me. Whoever answers first wins with how much and if you tip. Whoever answers first wins the point.
I'm just going to say I tip all of the people.
Then tell me how much.
Oh, 20% always. I mean, I tip anybody in a service position, in a position of service. So my Sonic car hop, I would tip.
Your Uber driver?
Yeah, I probably tip more.
Okay, that's 1 point for Bree. Graffiti.
Well,
Sorry.
It's because I'm taking over the conversation.
She got it.
Started.
She got it. She
He's
got it.
new.
And I'm not tipping 20%, so she won.
Okay. How about your city council member?
Okay. No.
Little tip.
They're a public servant. That feels like a bribe.
Yeah.
I love
Not
my
my
city
word.
council
Okay.
person, Jamie
No
Torres
tip.
rules, but
No tip?
no.
Sorry, city council. How about your drag performer?
Oh, that's like built into the culture.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I've noticed this recently at our Hot Wings debate. This was like a big part of it. I didn't really realize that.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it.
What is that? How did that happen?
I mean, I don't know the origins of it, but I think like anything, it's like this awesome thing that was created in a community to push the folks that support you to pay artists out of your pocket to theirs. I love it. I'd love to know the origins of tipping in the drag community,
It's interesting.
but at my first drag show, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I saw it then. It is, I've got to say, probably a decades old part of the community.
And then I feel like any artist or performer that does an intimate, direct performance that's indie should get tipped.
Well, I also have noticed that like artists will put out like their Venmo and stuff.
Yep.
Like, so you can, even if you don't have cash, just tip people for being artists, which I would do.
Yeah. How about your liquor store clerk? No tip for the liquor store clerk? The little dish with the pennies? You're going to put a penny in there?
Well, that I will say, just put my change in the thing. I do that all the time.
Okay.
Just 'cause I don't want to carry change.
Okay.
But I don't look at it like a tip.
That would be
that one's
weird.
kind of weird.
Well, you still get the point there. You answered first, and that's the important thing. How about your stand-up comedian?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Finish
if
the
I
set,
could.
give him a little tip?
Yeah, totally.
Interesting. Okay, one more. This is because we had that psychedelics convention last week. Your trip sitter.
Oh, like the person that hangs out with you while you're high?
Yeah.
And not if they're your friend.
Yeah, not a
That's
tip.
just like
You
a
give 'em a
homie.
hug.
That's your homie. That's like
What
the
about the-
agreement you have as friends.
Yeah.
If it's like a medical situation, like it's
No.
like a...
Okay, this is a great point. Medical situation. I tried to tip my esthetician, Jody Lynn, the other day, and she's like, Botox is a medical procedure, you can't tip me on it.
Just trying to
I tip my hairdresser and I tip my massage therapist.
You tip your dentist?
No, I don't tip my dentist. But
Thanks, man. Thanks for the
she
smile.
said I'm not supposed to take tips because this is a medical procedure. So I wouldn't tip my esthetician if she gave me Botox, but if she does my eyebrows, I will.
All right. Well, I think Bree wins the game on that. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with wins and fails.
I love to tip.
All right, and we're back. So we're going to do our new favorite segment, a little round of wins and fails. So stuff we've noticed around the city this week, recently, local, generally, things that we think are wins, things we think are fails. Let's do fails first. Who wants to start?
You go, Paul. You start.
You want to go, Graffiti? I mean, it's you.
Hey, you got it.
You're ready
You
first?
got it.
Okay.
Go, Paul.
So mine's a little short story, just a personal experience. Starts in a backyard in Elyria, Swansea, maybe 2 weekends ago. Cousin Riley was graduating from barber school.
Yeah.
In the back corner of the yard, overgrown with weeds, was an old BCycle. Do you all remember BCycle?
You know what? I was just thinking about these the other day. Like that was the OG. Was it a city project?
Well, this is what I learned. Do you, Graffiti, did you?
It was like
familiar,
pre-Lime.
Okay.
Yeah. Pre-Lime bikes and all that stuff.
So what happened?
Or Uber or whatever.
Why, how did?
Yeah, what happened?
Kind of hard to know. Well, turns out one of the people at this party used to be a mechanic, and they were kind of harboring these like bad feelings about how it all went down because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic that BCycle's contract ran out, and their fleet of bikes was 10 years old and like really out of date and heavy as hell.
Yeah,
if you'll remember.
I do
and like
remember
at that
that.
point, not fun to ride. So they had to invest in a whole new fleet. And they're a nonprofit, so it would have been a grant from the city. The city put out a request for proposals. BCycle put together this whole thing with like scooters, e-bikes. They're nonprofit, so they're more mission driven, and they were going to make it more accessible. But they didn't get the contract because the Hancock administration gave it to the scooter companies because they were all like public-private partnership forward at that time. So this is my fail. I just thought like, wow, I didn't know how sad that story was.
Listeners can't see
Sorry.
my face right now. I'm so mad.
Isn't that like...
This makes me hate scooters and those bikes now even more.
Yeah, this was like
because
a public...
we could have had a public
thing.
Nonprofit program. Ugh. Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, great way to go out on the Hancock administration, but people already know how I feel about that. So,
Graffiti, are you sad about the BCycle story? You got feelings?
I do now. I didn't think about it before.
Right?
Like, that sucks.
Kind of.
Thanks.
Well, we got 2 more fails to go.
brutal.
Which one of you 2 wants to go?
I'll go. The Colorado Rockies.
Oh, boy.
And everything about the Colorado Rockies.
I feel like people are like, sell the team. Sell the team.
Yeah. I mean, we're on a high from the Nuggets winning the championship. We got the Mammoth. I mean, like the Broncos aren't the greatest right now, but we've had that time. And
yes.
I think we feel like it'll be back soon. It just doesn't seem like we have much hope for the Colorado Rockies. And it's tragic.
It is. Especially like such a centrally located.
Yeah. Like it seems like we should have a
right
good
there.
baseball team. Like it feels like a good baseball team city. I don't know. Like we're a sports town.
Yes.
But we don't have a good baseball team. And it's like that should be the easiest one. We just won a basketball championship. As a fan, I never really seen that coming. But as a baseball fan, it's like, come on, Rockies, what are we doing?
Did you grow up here?
Yes.
Okay, so you remember how exciting it was,
Absolutely.
Right? We get this team. We finally get a like legit MLB team. It was like I don't remember a lot of being a tween, but that was a big deal for Denver, and it just feels like it's been squandered.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's still fun to go to a game,
Totally.
Have a beer, have a
100%.
hot dog. It's cool, but it's like we kind of wish you guys would win sometimes.
It would be awesome.
That's all.
Chelsea, what was it last weekend? They lost like 25-3 or something.
Yeah,
I saw that on
man.
social media.
And they're losing bad.
It was
You know
so
what I mean?
bad.
It's like you're losing really bad while we're having parades for, like,
For a team we never thought would get there.
Oh, man. It's tough.
That's a great fail. They perpetual, constant, epic fail. The Rockies.
Yeah.
But Coors Field, A+. Somehow,
Coors
still
Field
love it.
is not a fail.
Yeah, Coors Field rules.
Yeah. Bree, how about you? What's your fail?
I mean, okay, I don't know why I'm getting myself into this mess again, but earlier this week we talked about the Zero Fare for Better Air program, the 8 weeks during the summer where RTD is free.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, this rules. Awesome. And then John Murray, our friend from the Denver Post, wrote this piece, will, quote, truly embarrassing drug use and other problems undercut RTD's summer of free fares. So there's a lot of concerns from drivers that, like, it's cool to let everybody ride the bus for free, but we're still not getting the basic things we need as drivers. We don't have a safe job environment. We don't have a safe work environment. And I'm not going to get into the politics of longtime listeners know how I feel about how we talk about people who use drugs. It's important to me to remember these are human people. But I also think about, like, nobody wakes up in the morning and is like, I can't wait to do drugs on the train. Like, we're doing drugs in our homes. Everybody I know does drugs in their homes that are housed. So it's like kind of pitting people against each other in this weird way when we're not dealing with the actual societal issues that are getting us there. We have programs to help folks who use drugs. We don't have enough of them. We don't have enough funding for it. This is also a housing issue. Like, if someone's riding the bus or the train all day long to stay cool or stay safe, what do you think we need to do? Like, house people. So I don't know if it's a fail yet, but it's like, I think the thing that really stuck out to me in this piece from John was, like, the governor announced this. Like, yeah, oh my gosh, the environment, amazing. But, like, what about the other side of it? How do we know that RTD has a driver shortage already. And the existing drivers are saying there isn't even security on this train to help me. I don't feel safe. How do we fix that problem? I want to fix those problems before you know what I mean? So it's like a potential fail.
Graffiti, I want to hear from you on this. We talk about transit too much, probably.
That is a very interesting point. I mean, they're on the transit for a form of safety, housing. And I never really thought about it from the driver's perspective, honestly. But again, I hate to say it this blatantly, but it comes with the job. You know what I mean?
It does to a certain extent, for sure. But I think we've learned from these drivers, and the fact that there's a shortage is just like, they shouldn't have to be breaking up fights or, like, I've just seen, like, anecdotally friends share stories on social media about, like, I was on the train and I was being harassed by a dude, and, like,
and the driver had to intervene.
Yeah, the driver has to. What do they do? They're driving. So I just think, like, there's a lot of issues we need to deal with. And I love the idea of free transit, but how else are we dealing with the other stuff? Folks who are having mental health issues, the folks that do have drug problems. Like, the bus is, like, taking on the burden that the city is having trouble with, I think, which is a lot of systems are being overburdened when we need to deal with them on a larger level. So bums me out.
Yeah. I like the idea of security or, some type of assistance on the bus. But then there's other factors with that too.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like deep. More police.
Yeah.
But, like, how are we dealing with the issues to stop that from happening in the first place, or at least minimize it? Because, like, I lived in New York for a year. I rode the subway. I saw lots of wild stuff. But for the most part, I didn't feel unsafe on a day-to-day basis. And from what I hear from folks is they feel unsafe to the level where they don't necessarily want to use public transit. And the drivers themselves are also speaking up. So you know that it's really a problem. What are you thinking, Paul?
Just how far I want to go into this, because obviously, I mean, I have my own feelings about this Zero Fare for Better Air.
Right.
Let's get into it. I think these state lawmakers and state officials are foisting this problem on Denver that's not going to solve our problems. That there's no push on the drivers there's nothing to inconvenience drivers in any way. So there's not going to be anyone moving from cars to transit. It's not going to serve those people. When you say
drivers, you're talking about, like, single occupant car drivers, not the bus drivers.
Mistake.
You're saying that. So to get back to it, the Zero Fare for Better Air concept is often touted as a way to get people on the bus, right? Let's get out of our cars. And you've said for a long time, that's not enough. It's not enough.
It's not enough.
But, like, I agree with you. So I love the thought, but I think you're right. I think sometimes state lawmakers are not in the reality of it, which is A, we're not necessarily getting people out of their cars, and B, we're not providing a safe place for the drivers. Or I don't know. It's
not what's
so
best for
complicated.
Denver. I think if they wanted to help the transit system in Denver, they should fund it.
Yeah.
What a radical concept. This is what I was talking about on Tuesday. RTD has a PR problem in part because it's not funded. Mm-hmm. So it's like watching a half broke down thing and wondering why it's not doing awesome.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's not just about more security.
So, hey, you guys, maybe we should fund this.
What a crazy concept.
I think that's what it boils down to, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the zero fare thing, the state government is going to be paying for that. It's going to cost an estimated $10 million last year and 13 point something this year. So it's not nothing, but like,
I get
this
it.
This is like a major city's public transportation network. It's expensive.
It's not going to get me out of my car, I'll tell you that. And I think that's the sentiment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's do some wins.
Let's do something positive.
Who wants to start us off with a win?
I can't. Well, one, I was going to talk about what a nice experience I had at Ball Arena this week after the Red Rocks experience that everyone had. Yeah. I went to Erykah Badu on Monday. Transformative. Incredible.
Great concert.
Unbelievable. Were you there? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's one of those shows that after the show, you're like, oh, this really changes my life every time I see her. It was beautiful. But that's probably not a win for everyone who didn't go to the Erykah Badu show.
No, that's great. That's good vibes in the city. That's a lot of people. Hell yeah. I love this one.
The best feeling show I'd been to in a long time in terms of audience. There were two people that were having religious experiences next to me, which is very common for Erykah Badu shows.
I was going to say that happens a lot of her shows.
I had heard my husband and his best friend have seen her like 6 times. Yeah, it was my first time. Have you seen her?
I have, but I usually attribute that to being outside at Red Rocks.
Right.
But so for Ball Arena to have that same experience, it's definitely just Erykah Badu.
She just like, there was this woman that was just like in it with Erykah, like, and she was honestly older than the average person in the crowd. She was probably in her 60s. And Erykah Badu was clearly her person. But it was just one of those shows where like the next day I was like, now I get it. I'm getting it. But I will just say the other really cool thing that's happening in Denver right now is the conversation around renaming places. And the Barnum Branch Library in my neighborhood has the opportunity to maybe be renamed. And I'm just excited about that because Barnum, the neighborhood, is named after P.T. Barnum, a person that owned land in Denver. If we know anything, people that just own land are not that interesting. Often maybe not the greatest people. He was not the greatest. But there's other people in this community that we could name the Barnum Branch after. My recommendation would be I'd like to throw Lucille Berkeley Buchanan's name in. She was a Barnum resident who moved here in the 1880s with her parents, who were emancipated, formerly enslaved people, and they were the first Black family to own land in Barnum. And she was CU Boulder's first Black female graduate. I think she was the first Black student to graduate from UNC. I would love to have a library named after Lucille versus P.T. Barnum. So I love the move that this is making. I'm excited.
That's been common too. The name changes. Is really, I like that. I love that about our city. We'll be like, no, that sucks. Let's change it.
Yeah.
That we're willing,
for the most part, you know.
Yeah, that we're
when
willing
it comes to changing names,
conversations.
Not a lot of other stuff.
Right. Right. And name only kind of thing. But.
Yeah. When for me, I would say street art. You know, given my name, I think we kind of take street art for granted in Denver, specifically around downtown Rhino Lodo area. It's everywhere, and we don't really, celebrate the artists that do it. One of the big ones right now, friend of mine and big artist, Detour.
Absolutely.
Just put up that mural with the Denver Nuggets. Added the trophy to it. I've been seeing that everywhere. ESPN, New York Times, Billboard. Like, it's everywhere. And I'm like, it is really cool. And I don't know if any of us really realize how cool that is, but there's so many other artists that do that. And, Detour he owns downtown.
100%,
But, Gamma, there's a bunch of them. And I'm just, I think it's a win that it's not vandalism anymore in the eyes of the people. It's not treated as vandalism. It's just like, it's what's making our city beautiful. So we should just celebrate that a little bit.
I think that Detour should just have, he should just get paid by Visit Denver.
Like, seriously,
just keep him on a commission.
Yes,
if there's a moment, we want you to put up a mural of we'll just send you names. Like,
but you'll be on retainer and have income the whole year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's the struggle, right? Is we heard, we kind of saw the other side, the underside of it, that many of us know who are artists or friends with artists, that you don't necessarily make a ton of money doing it. And when one of Detour's friends put up a GoFundMe, it was like, we really got to make sure this dude makes a living. I know he does tons of things, but I know that he's not making the amount of money that he should be for the amount of work that he does to booster this city. Like ESPN, New York Times.
Yeah, man.
That makes Denver look cool.
And that's the thing. So that's why I think we need to celebrate it a little bit, just as locals for sure. Because, artists are humble and, I do it for the art and we do. But at the same time, man, like you're painting the city literally.
And making it look
you should be paid by the
beautiful.
City for that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I wonder. I would love to hear from Detour about the economics of this career because you're right, he is exceptional. And I wonder, because if the top of the game, he is the best in the city. He is the most known. His style is the most associated with downtown for many people. How is he making it work? How is he living? Because
I would guess he's doing a lot of different things to make the income work.
I bet.
That would be a good conversation.
I would love to hear.
Yeah.
We should.
That would be a good conversation. Yeah. But it is like, it's one of those things, and that's not to discredit any of the other artists, but he has a very distinct look that's starting to become like the look of Denver, of New Denver.
100%.
Like you see the colors and stuff and you just, that was Detour. Oh, that's Denver. And you put it together. Yeah. He did a piece for Dave Chappelle. For Dave Chappelle and for David Letterman. It was David Letterman's show actually on Netflix.
Oh, no way.
And so the art on David Letterman's show, the guests are like, Detour style. And when I seen it, I'm like, that looks like Detour. And it was Detour's work.
No way.
But my mind clicked to Denver. You know what I mean? Like they look like they're in Denver. And so it's something, that's something to celebrate.
I love that. And I also just love that Detour then can usher in interest in our art scene.
Exactly.
Because like you said, there's Gama, there's Karma Lee, Mo Graham, Anthony Garcia, Jaime Molina. I mean, all of these people whose work, if you see it, it's that Coco Bear. We were just talking about her.
I particularly like.
Oh, I love his work.
The colors.
Yep.
I love his work. Anthony, obviously, huge fan of my friend. But I love that knowing that people will start to make that connection. Detour, Denver. Oh, Denver's pretty cool in ways that we haven't been advertising it as cool.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's move on. I got a wild story. With a happy ending that is making me feel good all week. It's a story from Fox 59 of Indiana. They report that forensic investigators have determined that a man who was living in Salem, who passed away in 2012, was in fact one of the men responsible for a series of armed stick-ups in Denver in 1955. He was living peacefully in Indiana under the assumed name Bill Lee Hull, but in fact he was Albert Edwin, aka Pinky Rhodes, and he ran with a Colorado gang called the Shotgun Bandits. He had no fingerprints, so I guess it's been like a local mystery there.
Like they didn't have a record of his fingerprints?
Yeah, well, no, he scraped them off his
fingerprints.
He took them off because he was that,
Yeah.
He was doing,
Yeah.
Anyway,
how was he found?
Exactly. After 11 years, investigators were able to confirm his identity. Now, I don't know why they exhumed his body, and that part I feel a little weird about, but they did it, and they did a DNA test, and I guess he had a tattoo that said Pinky on his arm, which is like another tip off.
Give yourself away.
But yeah, they figured out who it was. And anyway, so the win is Pinky Rhodes. He did go to prison after all this. So he got a second chance and he lived happily ever after. He made it work. He got a second chance and he took advantage of it, made a life for himself in Indiana. I think that's a heartwarming story.
Oh man. What year was this the robberies?
1955.
So that's like see?
Yes.
Those are like those guys.
That's one of these guys.
A bag of money with a dollar sign on it.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, I guess he ran away to Indiana with a woman he met in Arizona. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
mean, that's certainly a story.
It certainly is a story. All right, well, we got one more segment. We're going to talk about the weekend after one more quick break.
What's up, weather fam? Rain or shine, I'm Andy Stein here with your CityCast Denver weather forecast for this weekend. And we'll get to your forecast in just a sec, but earlier this week, we hit 90 degrees for the first time this season. And the last time that we had to wait this long to hit 90 degrees in Denver was back in 1982. So a lot of us don't even remember the last time that we had to wait this long for 90-degree heat. I'm not complaining though, because 90 degrees in Denver, we'll definitely get that several more times this summer. So waiting a little bit longer to get our first one, not that big of a deal to me. Hey, Friday's going to be a little bit wet, as you probably are noticing outside already, but Saturday and Sunday looking much better. Highs going to be in the low to mid 80s for both days. We do have a typical afternoon chance for thunderstorms, but for the most part, we're not looking at any widespread severe weather or big chances for widespread rain. That's going to continue into Monday and Tuesday of next week, so your 4th of July holiday should be able to go off without too many issues around the Denver metro and the Front Range.
All right, we're back. It's time for the official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend, as in maybe you'll see us there, because as usual, there's so many cool things happening in Denver this weekend, but there's only one where you might see us. Peyton Garcia rounds up her best bets in our newsletter, Hey Denver, every week, and she's here to give us her top picks. Peyton, welcome back to the show.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hi.
So what's up? Is it going to be a good weekend?
What are we doing?
Yeah, we got a lot of options. So let's get right into it. Starting Friday, so starting today, through Sunday, all weekend long, is Fan Expo Denver 2023.
Oh, really?
Yep.
It's this weekend. Okay.
Yep. So that's comic books, sci-fi, anime, cosplay galore. You guys into any of that?
Graffiti, tell us about that. Are you psyched about that? What would you?
Yeah,
have you
yeah.
gone to this before?
Every year I take my kids to Fan Expo. I still call it Comic Con,
Yeah.
but Fan Expo. We're big Marvel heads, so it's always pretty fun. I mean, really, if you go as much as we do, you realize it's really not anything exciting as far as like there's nothing happening. It's just,
But it's like,
it's a cool element to be around an environment.
You get to be around other people that love the thing you love.
I would just want to go to see all the costumes.
That's exactly what it is. Everybody just dresses up and has fun, but then like you really get there and you're just like, we're just buying comic books. But but it's a cool environment.
Really cool for little kids, though.
Yeah, they love it. They
Yeah.
love it. Yep.
I do have to say they've got some heavy hitters on the celebrity lineup, including Chevy Chase, John Bernthal, Danny Trejo, Tom Felton, but most importantly, in my opinion, Steve Burns.
Who is that?
You guys know who Steve Burns is?
Oh,
No.
Blues Clues?
Blues Clues.
Oh.
Blues Clues. Yep.
Steve.
I love Steve.
Is he
I'd
the
go just for
first one or
Steve.
the second one?
He's the OG.
The original one?
Yeah.
The OG
Steve.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I might like. I mean, obviously, I was a little old for Blues Clues, but
Yeah,
I worked
same.
at a learning toy store, and we used to play Blues Clues VHS tapes.
Loved Blues
in the
Clues.
store.
Say, I'm going to get on eBay and get them all on DVDs and make my son watch them.
Oh,
With the
that's
original
fun.
fun.
Yeah,
Blues
cool.
Clues is the best. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Another big one that's happening all weekend long, Cherry Arts Festival in Cherry Creek. Celebrate the best that Cherry Creek has to offer. Food, music, art.
Oh, I didn't know it was that time of year.
The best that Cherry Creek has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Graffiti, is that interesting for you?
That's a high claim right there.
Yeah,
The best.
I mean, it's a pretty ritzy neighborhood.
it is.
Fancy stuff,
And,
probably.
It all goes to benefit arts education in Colorado.
I was going to
So
say
it's a
they
good cause.
Nice.
they do ongoing youth arts education programs year round. So that's what I love about Cherry Arts.
So if you want to feel fancy this weekend, that's the place to be.
I think Fan Expo's front runner right now for me. Cherry Creek Arts, I'm not feeling it this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
What's number 3?
I set a high bar.
Yeah.
Start.
Jeez,
Okay. Okay. You guys remember? Go ahead, Greg.
the guy that was collecting
Yeah, he like
goat heads
got
Oh, yeah.
locally
on
famous
the
because he
bike
was
path.
like single-handedly collecting like 500 pounds of goat heads.
That's bananas.
Which is insane. Well, anyways, you're invited to join him this weekend on a goat head collection expedition to help clean up the Highline Canal Trail.
Ooh, okay.
Volunteers requested. There'll be snackies and water.
But there's like an organization behind him now
Yeah,
that
it's
like
the Go Ahead Patrol.
recognized the fact
Oh,
that
that's cool.
this
Yeah, after
Guy
that
was doing
article
something
came out in
Okay, I guess that
Desiree,
saves it a little bit because at
You
first
know?
I'm like, no.
you're like, not doing that. No.
Not going to find me on the Highline picking up goat heads.
Denverite found him, I think because his like wife wrote in and was like, hey, my husband does this really cool thing.
Aw.
And then he got so popular. Like then all of these people like gathered around him and now they're the Goat Head Patrol and they all help him do his thing. And I don't know, it was exciting.
I am very happy me for Greg and this movement of people, the
Me
Go Ahead
too.
Patrol.
I love it.
It's like when you find a thing and it's just your thing,
Yeah.
and it's really weird, but it's your thing.
I respect
And then people
that.
get behind it. You got to respect it.
I mean, he's a Denver hero. He's the reason you're not getting flat tires in your bike.
That's huge. Paul,
Yeah, I do. I benefit from his work. I should be more,
you should respect it a little bit.
at least performative in my excitement for
Oh
that
my
event.
gosh.
But yeah, I don't know. The Highline's cool. It would be fun. It would be a fun time. I'm sure it would. It's shady if it's
Also,
sunny
I
out
would
this
just
weekend.
say, I know I hear we've heard this a couple of times. We've gotten a couple of write-ins. I don't know how to meet people. I moved to Denver. I don't know how to meet people.
It does sound good
This
for that.
is a great way to go
Volunteering.
meet some
Yeah.
folks that are probably cyclists, I would guess, or at least outdoor enthusiasts. Go meet some new people.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, last one.
That got me a little excited. But yes, let's hear number
The
4.
some
last
people.
one. So it's farmers market season, and I have yet to actually go to a farmers market, which is kind of unheard of for me. But I guess hey, new mom, I don't get out much.
You're kind of busy.
Kind of busy. So there's a farmers market. So there's a gal. Her name is Beverly Grant, and she grew up in the 5 Points. You know her?
Of
Yeah,
course.
in the North Denver area.
Love Beverly.
Mo Better
And
Greens,
she runs Mo Betta Greens, and they are hosting one of their farmers markets this weekend. There's going to be all the good stuff, and there's like a Tai Chi and Zumba and some fun activities.
I love that.
To enjoy as
Anytime,
well.
all her events are awesome.
Yeah, anything she does is
Yeah, I'm
cool.
like, it's kind of a given to me.
I'm not familiar with this
Oh,
Mo
she's
Betta
just-
Greens.
She's just like been a fixture in the community for so long, talking about food access and healthy food and like creating the space for that access and just like no barriers. It's just like, I don't know. I've just talked to her peripherally as like a person in the community, and she's so nice and so welcoming to folks interested in learning more about food and food access.
Yeah, I
Fresh
did an
food.
event with her. What was it? November-ish. We did the Wakanda on Welton event.
Oh, cool.
That was fun, and just
That's really
everything she's
cool.
involved in is like very.
I didn't know she was involved in that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
very pure, and like you learn something, especially when it comes to
Yes.
food and health and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing.
yeah,
Kind of sold on this one. This sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
down.
really
If you're going to do a farmer's market, I
That's
would
the
do
one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I'd love that. That's my
Let's do
vote.
Mo Better
Yeah,
Greens.
yeah.
Let's do it.
And there you have it, the official CityCast Denver maybe for your weekend. But there's way more where that came from. Peyton's got plenty more recommendations in our newsletter, Hey Denver, which you can subscribe to right now by texting Denver to 66866. Graffiti, this is the end of the show.
Yeah,
Do
man,
you
I
have
had a good
anything-
time. It's already the end.
This has been fun. Do you have anything like coming up or you want people to know about?
Where?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I would be remiss not to promote an event I'm hosting. So on Saturday night at Ophelia's, I'll be hosting Drake Night. This is probably like number 9 or something that we've done, but this is Enter the Aubreyverse playing off the Spider-Man theme. So if you're a Drake fan, it's all Drake, everything, all night. It's always a good time. We got like big like cut out Drake heads and stuff. It's fun. It's
Wow.
we overdo it, but it's on purpose and it's fun. If you're not a Drake fan, do not come. 'Cause it's
So you are a big Drake fan.
I wouldn't even say that, but the event itself is fun, and I enjoy. I like his music a lot. But like we get like the biggest Drake fans in there, and it's
Holy cow.
such a fun
I
party.
might have to do
yeah,
that.
at
That
Ophelia's, and
sounds
Ophelia's
really-
is always a good time. So,
Ophelia's,
yep,
Saturday night?
Saturday night.
Do I have to buy tickets?
Yep. You have to buy tickets. You can go to Ophelia's website. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. Or you can get tickets at the door. But it's fun. And even I'll take that back. Even if you're not a Drake fan, to come in and check out the environment and just hear the good music and like look at the Drake fans. Like this is fun. It's always a good time, man. So yeah, Drake
Sounds
night.
incredible.
I've seen Drake several times. He's
Yeah. Oh, and we are giving away a pair of tickets to go see him at Ball Arena. So
was he at Ball
that's-
Arena this time?
That's the big catch this time. It's like you can actually see Drake for real.
fun.
Yeah.
That
But
sounds great.
Aside from that, at That's Graffiti on every platform imaginable, podcasting, everything like that. I changed my feed. So before it was The Connect with Graffiti. That's still the name of my show. But my actual audio feed, it's That's Graffiti, just to keep it consistent across everything.
So if I'm searching for it, I write That's Graffiti.
And
We'll
so
put a link.
Yep.
We'll
So
put a
you'll
link.
get
Good
the
idea.
episodes of the podcast. Like I'll put this on the feed. I didn't want to like limit it to just my show on my audio feed because I do so much audio stuff.
That's a great idea.
Everything is there, so you can find it there.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yep,
Well, Bree, Peyton, Graffiti, thanks so much for joining me.
for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Caroli, Natalie Rivera, and Olivia Jewel Love. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocachetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Twitter or Instagram or both at CityCast Denver, and tell your favorite server or bartender about us the next time you tip them. You can sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866 and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.
They're like, excuse me, hi, can we get a drink order put in here? I'm like, Mom,